Thank you, Daniel, for being on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Cool. So I will just jump right in. We
Mhm,
have received some basic facts about your business endeavor. So after facing a
mhm,
business failure, you are at a crossroads. What made you take the
mm.
leap into entrepreneurship again rather than choosing a stable job?
I was at a crossroad. I lost my previous business, and a friend asked me to, help him build a loan brokerage team. And that is when I realized that everything is still so manual. As a borrower right now, if you want to compare whether it's a home loan or whether it's a business loan, you want to compare, you have to apply with multiple lenders one by one yourself. So a broker essentially take care of the legwork, but they are still applying one by one themselves. So I realized that there needs to be a more efficient way, a more transparent way by taking out the middleman. And I realized that the opportunity here could be really, really huge. So I decided to jump back in.
When I first heard this, it's quite shocking to hear that the process of finding a loan in Singapore, such a fintech hub, is still quite manual, and there's still inefficiency, a lot of inefficiencies there. Personally, I have lived in Singapore for a couple of years, so I know how developed the city, the market, the whole startup scene there is like. So it's quite
Mhm.
surprising that you say this space, this world is still a lot of inefficiencies can be found.
One of the reason is because unlike a lot of aggregator, a lot of marketplaces, loan is not pre-priced. I mean, if today you want to book an air ticket, 10 years ago, you had to go to 10 different websites. You want to book a hotel 10 years ago, you had to go to 10 different websites. So maybe that's web one. And then web two, they start having their own booking system and whatsoever, but it's a lot more streamlined, but you still have to go to 10 website. Maybe you don't have to call them, you can book, but if you want to compare prices, it's still individual website. And maybe web three, not strictly in the crypto sense, and they start to become aggregator. The reason is because a lot of the pricing can be pre-priced. Particular hotel, particular airline, even if you want to book a room 1 year down the road, they calculate it, they return it back to the aggregator. But for loans, is uh credit scoring by itself is in its infancy. About
Hmm.
3% or less of the banks actually use credit scoring. There's still a lot of human doing the due diligence and whatsoever. So there is
Hmm.
just no way that a website can just collect all the information and then present it to you.
So how is your solution actually contribute in improving this inefficiency here?
We do it very differently. We don't try to predict what the lenders will lend, how much will they lend, how long will they lend, at what interest rate. And we actually connect all the customer directly to the lenders. So if you want to compare
Mm.
rates, you don't have to go to 10 website and apply 10 times. You just need to apply once, we take the information and send it to 10 people.
So instead of calculating the credit score for them or give them some information that's misleading, you connect the borrower and lender directly so they can get accurate
Yes.
information by directly talking to the borrower
Yes.
individually.
Yes.
Won-
So
Wonderful. Okay. You started fighttheloan.com without any coding experience or funding. Most people would see this as a deal breaker, actually. What gave you the confidence to push through?
knowledge. I realized that as a founder, it's impossible to have knowledge in everything, and therefore it shouldn't stop you. One particular quote that I like is from the founder on Instagram. He said, "Learn just enough to be dangerous." So I believe that as founder, there's no way we can know everything underneath the sun, and there will always be new hurdle, new knowledge that we will need. So I think all we need to do is just learn enough.
Yeah, you don't have, or you cannot possibly be expert on everything, right? But as long as you can make sense
Exactly.
of what are they doing, you can understand their work. That's at least a good start. And we often say, like learning
Yes.
language, we often say learn enough to know how to self-learning. That's probably a good start.
Yes, I think it's important to, just figure out things along the way rather than constantly worrying about, okay, if I don't have this knowledge, I shouldn't do this. Of that said, of course, there are certain industry like, yeah, of course, if you are in deep tech, I mean, if you can't talk about aeronautical if you don't even have a basic engineering, but I think for a lot of startup, you don't necessarily need to have extreme domain knowledge. So long as we're willing to learn. I think these days with AI, with ChatGPT, there's a lot of things you can figure them out. So long as you are willing to put in the effort.
Yeah, with AI, it's much easier for everything. And for no matter how deep tech that is, I always believe there's a high level of structure and framework that
Yes,
that's where you can start with, right? To understand the bigger picture of it.
agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah, cooler. You saw how traditional loan brokerage was inefficient and filled with
Mm,
conflicts of interest. Were there
mm,
any moments when you realized
mhm.
that this industry needs to change? Share this moment with us.
I realized that brokers can have a conflict of interest because they may their role is supposed to help you find the cheapest room, what works best for you. That is in theory, but in actual execution, they may have certain relationship with certain lenders. So I find time banks, but I tell you, I only found three,
Mm,
yeah, because of their relationship with. So that's why in certain countries, there are regulatory guidelines or even laws that they need to declare any relationship. But that said, there is still uh I believe a huge gap because it's retrospective. You need to realize they did something wrong, you file a complaint. By taking out the middleman entirely, you remove this conflict of interest. And from the lender's point of view, they love this tool as well because 90% of loan frauds happens when loan brokers are involved. They have the incentive to help you find the loan. Then usually then they get paid. A lot of them works on a success basis, even for out of Singapore. So they may be overzealous, to manipulate your financial documents. But when you are as a borrower, you are signing a loan agreement with the lender, it may be just easier for them to pursue legal action against you rather than the loan broker.
mm,
So we
mm,
realize that it's easier to just take them out of the equation. If today there's a convenient tool that you can just compare and apply with multiple, you don't really need a person to help you. I mean, if you need some guidance, some advice, again, tons of information online.
mm. So, what is the business model of today's
Mhm.
loan rate comparison website?
The current model with a lot of so-called loan comparison. First of all, they are not even real loan comparison. They give you a lot of suggestive rates, to a
Mm,
certain degree, they're misleading.
mm,
Like I mentioned, 1.5 Citibank, that is just an advertised rate. Very often you look closer, there's a lot of hidden disclaimer. So earlier I was saying that, it's important that the regulator make them to carry this warning more apparently.
mm.
Most of them, their model is on a lead gen model. So, like you advertising on Facebook or Google or LinkedIn is usually on a cost per click, cost per lead model. Yeah.
Right. So, what is your business model? Are you on the sell side or buy side? Who is your master?
Okay. I believe in this case, we need to take care of the client because if you don't have enough clients, no lender will want to work with us, but we charge only uh the lender on a successful sales.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, so your platform is free for the borrower to use.
Yes, yes. It's just like if you go to TripAdvisor, you go to Agoda, it's free for the user to use, but they charge a hotel or they charge the airline a commission for every sales.
Okay, then
So
based on what the borrower is searching,
mhm,
you basically show them all the available options out there without whether they have a like a partnership with you or not, or you mostly share only the partner lenders deal there.
okay. So we don't show the information. So again, those so-called show information, they're actually misleading because you won't know exactly a bank would lend you how much at what rate for how long. There's no
Mm,
way we can know. So even if we build a credit scoring on our end, it's just indicative. I deem you are very credit worthy. I deem that I can lend you at 1.3. Doesn't mean that HSBC will think the same. So we do it very differently. We don't show you anything, but actually we send you to all the lenders in our network. So your information is sent to them. They actually look at it as if you have applied directly with
Uh,
them, and they make their offer to you. So you have a unified single dashboard to see all your offers, and you get it directly from them. We don't attempt to try to predict who can lend you at how much.
right, right. I understand. Yeah. Coming
Mm,
back to the product
mm,
development side, right? Because
mm.
you are a non-co-founder, very much like myself, you relied on web development agencies in the beginning, and later on, you realized the pitfalls of not being involved in the tech decisions early on.
Mm.
What are the biggest mistakes non-tech founders should avoid when building a product, you think?
I think one of the number one thing is product creep. I mean, it's our baby. We take pride in that. We want everything to be perfect, and we want the customer experience to be seamless. And you will realize along the way there are a lot of features they don't really make use of, or it's not really that helpful for them. And you have so much bloat in your product that as an MVP, you don't necessarily need to have. I think product creep wastes a lot of time, wastes a lot of resource, wastes a lot of money by identifying some of the really core features, get it out there. You can launch your product much faster at a lower cost. I think one of the issue with working with agency is their incentive may not necessarily align with yours. you know yeah, they want more features, so they can bill you more. They want to rush things out because that is the faster that I can finish serving you, the faster I can find another client. So they don't really look at scalability, they don't really look at security and things like that. So even as a non-tech founder, it was important to know why they choose certain decision. What, like, why AWS, why Namecheap, why self-hosting, different things, and have them walk you through. And again, don't just take their word for it. Do your own research, and then you can know whether their incentive is aligned with yours or not, or are they just recommending you. So again, just like broker, the conflict of interest, their incentive may not align that 100% with yours. They may prefer not to go AWS because AWS, you need a server up, you need maybe AWS certification, and they may not even have that. So they simply tell you that, oh, no, don't go for AWS, simply because it's them, not because of they're taking out for you.
Yeah, exactly. They might be not having the aligned interests as yours, right? They might
Yes,
propose a lot of
yes,
things that's expensive, and maybe they will have a partnership with, but eventually you don't need those. And it's also
yes.
difficult to evaluate sometimes the proposals they made, the cost structure they propose, whether it makes
Yes.
sense or not. So I share with you one thing that I found quite useful. What we are doing
Mm,
at StartupLinkx is that both myself and my co-founder are not tech co-founders.
mhm,
However, we have some good friends who are very experienced tech
mhm,
person. What we did was
mhm,
that we kind of gave a small percentage of our equity in exchange of their
mm,
technical of their expertise in technology, because those
mm,
experts, they are super expensive. We cannot afford our friends full-time salary. They also have their full-time job, so we actually give a very small percentage of equity, and then they
mm,
regularly come on board to give their opinions, advice, let's say a few hours a month, for example. That is something I
mm.
found so far very, very useful and valuable for us.
I agree. For example, I was so concerned about scalability and things like that. And my mentor was telling me that, no, that is a decision I can make much later. It's a happy problem. It's not a permanent thing. I don't have to decide today. So that means, okay, one thing less off my checklist, one thing less off I have to go and research about. And mentor is definitely very important. In fact, I feel that what a startup link and is doing should perhaps maybe move to becoming a venture builder or incubator. There are a lot of startup that don't have this expertise, and maybe as an incubator, you can connect them to the right agencies, people that you have used before. You know they can be trusted. Their fees are reasonable. You know their advice are unbiased. That could be
Thank
an
you for your
opportunity.
advice. Yeah, that's a very interesting angle. I would definitely take that in mind going forward. You postponed settling down with your partner, I know, to dedicate everything to a startup. Looking back, do you think this sacrifice was necessary? And what advice would you give to founders who are currently struggling with work and life balance?
I think whether it's necessary or not, it really depends on the individual. And of course, I think it's really important to capitalize on the um first mover advantage. Whether do you really have to sacrifice your personal life? It also depends on how much resource do you have, So it's just like when you only have a head count for either marketing or branding, you have to pick, you can't have both, you know. Yeah. So
That's
I
already
don't
that's
think
already a nice problem to have. Choose between marketing and branding. It's already a nice problem to have. I have to choose either a
yeah.
developer or a marketer.
Yeah, sometimes, there's so many things we need to do and we don't have the money for the head counts and we end up just having to do so many things by ourselves.
You have said that being a founder is more like a being a Batman than a Superman. So what do you mean by that? And how had this mindset shaped your leadership style?
I think uh this ties back to earlier what I was saying, we can't possibly know everything. So, I mean, when it comes to coding, my developer is better than me. When it comes to marketing, my marketing guy is better than me, so we shouldn't aim to be a Superman where we know everything. It's just impossible. Even when you can, even Superman can't be at multiple places at once. So being a Batman is about about bringing people together,
Like a
becoming a
glue.
team. Yes.
Yeah, I also feel like it's stage dependent. When the company is really small, you are just one person or
Mm,
two-person founding team. It's okay to be
mhm.
Superman because you do everything by yourself. But as the team grow, more and more challenging to just rely on the Superman model. You have to delegate. You have to let
Yes.
team member do their best and do kind of let their expertise come to contribute to the team. You cannot, it's not possible
Yes.
for you to actually do everything once the
You
team
can't
grow
carry everything
past
on
a
your
certain
shoulder.
stage, right? Otherwise, forget about the
Yeah.
life work balance.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You also mentioned that you are experimenting with AI and custom
Mm,
GPTs for productivity. How do you see
yes.
AI shape the future of entrepreneurship? And would you launch another AI-driven business possibly in the future?
Well, we aren't really that AI driven business. Is we are more AI enabled. Like for example, our chatbot, you can ask things, like how does a loan type work, and it will answer you, AI is more for internal usage. Like for example, for project management, not sure if you heard of project management tools like Trello, ClickUp, Monday.com,
Mm.
Sure, they help you manage different facet of the project, So we use AI to help us filter things.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I indeed felt that AI opened the doors, at least for entrepreneurship, in so many different ways, at least for the start part. Without tools like Canva, right? One person
Mhm,
is not possible to
mhm,
even think about starting a business with the branding, with the marketing perspective. But now, with the help
mhm.
with Canva, I actually could design a poster or write a kind of create a beautiful picture for me with ChatGPT's help, Canva's help. So that makes the start of a business way easier. I feel like it opens the door for many people who previously never thought about entrepreneurship.
Like for example, your website, in a certain way is very similar to ours. Yeah. So that one is very similar to us. You don't have to go to individual incubator, fill up the forms over again and again and again.
Correct.
Your website basically, you just need to fill up once and then, you just need to apply, And if you want to apply with 10 incubators previously, that would probably taken me 5 hours. Right now with your website, you can just do it 10 minutes, very similar to hours.
Now, to
Definitely.
wrap up today's
Mm-hmm.
interview, I have one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to start over today, knowing everything
Mm-hmm.
you know now, what would be the
Mm-hmm.
first three things you would do differently?
Mm-hmm. Uh, I think I wouldn't want to be so excited, and the moment I identify an opportunity and jump right into it, I think that's number one. I think there are certain ideas that are just a lot more difficult to start than the others,
Mm,
like for example, for yours, I mean, if I go to your website as a new user and there's only one incubator, it wouldn't be interesting to me. You for marketplace like you and I, we have the additional obstacle of tackling both buy side and sell side concurrently, so I will probably either ensure I have more resources before I jump into the marketplace or aggregator model, or I will just start with smaller ideas, smaller tools, simpler websites. Second thing I would do is I think I will really rely on friends, like for example yourself, you manage to build a product through an agency, clearly they are trustworthy, so go to friends like you and say, hey, who can you recommend, rather than just think the lowest cost as the main criteria. Is an important criteria, but maybe not the main. I think the third thing I will do, probably really take a look at your personal uh aspect of life first, you know, to see whether you are ready to embark on another business, and also depend on how the business, how challenging it is. And I would probably have gone and worked for someone and, you know, take that time to save up and to give myself the margin to start a business, yeah.
yeah, I feel like entrepreneurship or starting a business will kind of force you to look harder at yourself, right? To understand yourself even better. Like, for example, jumping onto an exciting idea right away, or instead control your passion a little bit, step back a little bit, and look at things, think of things more carefully. Those kind of your own personality, starting a business will force you to think harder, look harder at those aspects, and look at which stage you are in life or your risk appetite, whether you are at a comfortable position to even start a business or not. That's yeah, really wonderful stories and experiences you have shared with us today. Thank you so much, Daniel.
And thank you for having me.